Okay, hey class, this is a continuation of our Navajo government lesson from last time. And this time, for your do now, you guys would have all walked in and picked up one of these. This is a map of the Navajo Nation. Brian must be really excited to see. So, for your do now, I want you to take a few moments and examine the map. Notice the boundary lines. Identify the different things, different items that you notice on this map. Just, examine it. But yeah, you guys already know, I would have had the instructions written on the board and we can tell you what to work with. Okay, now that you've had a moment, turn to the person on your right, except side. You want to try. On the right side? Okay. So,
they are all in the agency there.
Why is it like divided into five?
What's the
This is the agency.
That's the name, so you say they have each and every boundary.
I wonder why they're
So
called
they are all
agencies. I
everywhere.
can see the American states, Utah, Arizona,
They
Colorado.
are not like one
So they really are just in the middle.
country, there's not one state, they're all.
And then there's a couple pieces down here that aren't actually.
Okay.
It goes into Utah.
Give me 5.
Arizona, Colorado.
Okay, so Melanie, what's one thing you noticed?
They, in the map, there are different agencies divided into different agencies.
Okay. Brian, what's one thing you noticed?
You got 4 different states here, it's Colorado, New Mexico, Utah, and Arizona.
Okay. Daniel, what do you notice?
That there are a few pieces in the lower right-hand corner that aren't actually physically attached to the rest of the Navajo Nation, they're kind of like satellites.
Sai.
That Navajo is spelled differently than I imagined.
John?
Because I took everything
There's a hole
here, I think.
We'll discuss that.
in the middle of the nation.
And Nate?
Well, in accordance with that, it's like, because it's not like the other stuff where as far as like grade on, like it's not. So there's still like importance to it.
So, basically what we're covering today is the administrative boundaries of the reservation. So, you have, okay, so you're all using your map that you have, and I'm just pointing around it here. So, you have the whole tribe as a whole, which does lie in the states of Arizona, Utah, New Mexico. And it's split into the 5 agencies of Western Agency, Shiprock or Northern Agency, Eastern Agency, Chinle Agency, and Fort Defiance Agency. And within those agencies are chapters or community. And there are 110 different chapters. And like you guys noticed off here on the New Mexico side, there are 3 satellite chapters. They are part of the Navajo Nation, just not a part of the main reservation. So you have Rama chapter, Alamo chapter, and Tohajala chapters. So I didn't want to get into the nitty-gritty of the chapters because a lot of them are in Navajo, and as much as I would love to hear you guys try to pronounce them, well, I'll save you that. And so, the Western Agency chapter is headquartered, or Western Agency is headquartered in Tuba City, and you can kind of see it on this map. And then you have the Fort Defiance Agency, which is in the community of Fort Defiance. Chinle, also sometimes called the Central Agency, is located in Chinle. Shiprock Agency is more commonly known as the Northern Agency, which is in Shiprock. And then the Eastern Agency is in Crown Point, New Mexico. The only 2 agencies that are headquartered in New Mexico is the Shiprock and Eastern agencies. And So within each agency, they have the chapters. So the chapters are set up, think of it like a city government, where you have a mayor and then you have a city council. But instead of a mayor council set up, we have a chapter president with officers such as a vice president, treasurer, secretary, and then a chapter manager, which functions much like a city manager. And they are the basic functions of the reservation. They are the ones who delegate for housing and basically represent the people. From each chapter goes a representative to both the agency council and to the Navajo Nation Council, but we'll cover that coming up. So within the agency, they have the agency council, and there's a building within one of the sort of like headquartered cities I told you about, and that is where the superintendent of Bureau of Indian Affairs sits. And basically, that is the representative from the director of the Bureau of Indian Affairs to the Navajo Nation. And the reason why the Navajo tribe has 5 is because of the different agency split-ups, or separations. So we have the tribe as a whole, but for administration purposes is why it's split into the 5 different agencies. Have I lost anyone yet?
A little bit.
What can I clarify?
Can you just go through it one more time again, or like,
Could I kind of verbalize what I kind of understood?
Go ahead.
Just so, to see if I got. So this Navajo Nation as a whole, within there, it is divided into 5 main parts, and then within those parts, there are different communities called chapters. There's 110 overall, and kind of like our towns and our cities, you have like a chapter president with different administrators, maybe even a chapter council. And like us, there's this idea of representation. So within each agency, they have an agency council, so different representatives from the different chapters go and meet. And then from all the different chapters, they have the Navajo Council where everyone meets. But looking at the last point he was making from the U.S. kind of relationship, the Navajo Nation, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, there are 5 different kind of section representatives because the nomination is split into 5 different parts. Is that right?
So the way you can kind of look at it is there's 5 different Navajo tribes, but that's just for administrative purposes with the United States. In reality, there's just one Navajo tribe. Think of it sort of like the US. So you have the United States as a whole, which makes up the federal government, and then you have the 50 states, and then within each state you have counties. Unless you're in Louisiana, you have parishes. And so, think of the Navajo Nation as the United States. The agency is a state, each, so there's 5 states. And then the chapters are counties. Does that make a little bit more sense?
Yes.
And so, that's how the administrative works. And so, when you think about the government, each chapter within an agency has a representative who is on the agency council. And so that's like the state legislature. And then each chapter also has a person who represents them in the Navajo Council, which is for the whole tribe, which is like a US House of Representative or Senator. Does that make more sense now? So within the agency level, they are the ones responsible, since it's sort of like a separate reservation in itself. They have the Vital Statistics Office, the scholarship offices, the Bureau of Land Management offices for the tribe, and basically the higher-ups from the chapter. Anything a chapter can't do, the agency is what handles. Normally it's like the waters, supplies, and grazing, and road work usually. And so that's basically what all the chapters or the agencies are. And then I know you guys are confused at what's this gray spot right in the middle. And then you also have this sort of like exclave gray spot off of it. That is the Hopi Reservation. We do not talk of them.
Why not?
No, I'm just kidding. The Hopi Reservation is under the land dispute. So the real Hopi is like just this small little triangle. Let's see if I can draw it. You guys can see that small little triangle?
Yeah.
That's the traditional Hopi land. The rest of it is basically land dispute between the Navajo tribe and the Hopi tribe because of certain U.S. politics that we'll go into another time. And so the Hopi have their own government, their own setup, but they try to, the Navajo and Hopi tribes try to help each other because what else are you going to do? You're surrounded by a whole another tribe around
What
you.
Hopi means?
Huh?
Hopi?
Hopi is another Native American tribe.
Oh, okay. That's different from.
It's a whole different tribe. And so, once you get onto the like tribal as a whole level, you have your Navajo Nation Council, which operates as the legislative branch. And there used to be 88 council delegates that they had various borders set up with like how many representatives represent a certain chapter or a certain amount of chapters. And because they felt nothing was getting done with so many representatives, there was a reform back in 2010 that the Navajo people demanded for the council to be shrunk down. And so it is now a 24-member council. And on average, a council delegate represents 5 chapters. So like around where I'm from, close to where this green patch is in the Western Agency, I'm from the Kienta chapter. And if you notice, it sort of looks like a fancy boot. And Kienta shares a council delegate with Denahotso and Chibito chapters. So 3 chapters to 1 council delegate. But then right next to us, with Shanto, Ojietro, Tseminusrai, and Tsabik in chapters. It's 5 chapters, but 1 council delegate. And that's like from one point to another is about almost a 4-hour drive. So, kind of a big area to cover. But that's how the representation takes effect.
Have they found it, just to ask the question, useful to have shrunk? Has more been getting done?
Oh yeah, a lot more has been getting done. They've actually been pushing through budgets and getting through with the committees and being able to be more efficient. But of course, every government is flawed, so there's some argument going on. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is stand up. And you're going to shuffle and find a new seat. You shouldn't be sitting near or at your old seat.
Go to the end.
Now turn to your new partner. Okay, so discuss what you have learned from the lecture.
This is obviously Hopi, and here, about the Navajo Nation. As far as the United States is concerned, English is one Navajo Nation. They have just 1 people, but in order to just make things more manageable, this is a huge piece of land. They've split it up into chapters. And in 2010, when they went right down, they shrunk the number of people, Navajo Council, so do about 24 members. So they have been done, lots of people on the land.
Okay, give me 5. Okay, Mele, how many agencies are there?
5.
Nate, how many chapters are there?
Oh, wait.
John, you able to tell them?
Oh, there are 110.
110 chapters. Sai, how many members of the Navajo Nation Council?
Wait, oh,
Yes. Dan,
Yes.
how does a chapter's government operate?
You have a chapter president, he kind of has his cabinet, like a vice president, and then I believe you have like a treasurer of sorts who can handle like the finances, and then I believe besides that you have a council within the chapter, so each no, was that, no, that's not, so just like a president, kind of like our mayor system.
Yeah. Okay, so, yeah, got the foundation of how the administrative divisions are. And, oh, I forgot, with the chapter level, they're the ones in charge of issuing home site leases. Basically, because the Navajo Nation is entrusted to the tribe, we don't own the land, and so the United States government sets apart the land, and all we have to do is file or apply for land, and we mark off where we want to put a house. And as long as it is not within like 100 yards of an Anasazi site, or within a mile of a windmill, you're able to set up a house with the signatures of other people in the area. Okay, so before we end here, is there any other questions or clarification?
So you don't own the land that your house is on, you just lease it?
We don't own it. That's one of the down parts to being on the reservation. Like if I were to find gold or oil, we wouldn't be able to lay claim to it, the tribe would lay claim to it. Any other clarification needed? Okay, so at this time, you're gonna take out a paper and you're gonna write me a half-page, well-detailed paper explaining to me how the Navajo Nation is made up. Until next time.
Thank you.
Good job, Sai.